Resident Evil Village, or RE8 for short, was just revealed recently at the Sony event that also showcased a new PlayStation 5 console. But with this new Resident Evil title having a release date of 2021, the push for the franchise's storyline, characters, and the many BOWs is a great thing to have, which in this video, we'll delve into what we've learned so far from the new Resident Evil Village trailer, where we also cover the developer message in regards to this game, what we can expect from the story and enemy-wise, and how this connects to the previous Resident Evil games from the past.
Chris? Sorry, Ethan.
So sit back and relax as we delve into the world of survival horror. So before we start with the new Resident Evil 8 trailer, let's quickly go back on some of the rumors that spread around prior to this game showcase at the Sony event and the story that surrounds this game overall, beginning with an industry informant by the name of Dusk Golem, who has in the past correctly predicted so many key aspects for both Resident Evil 2 and 3 Remake. So this time around, he also correctly informed us that this new Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil Village would take us back to a very isolated region of Eastern Europe, with a village and a castle-like structure being the main setting for this game. He also mentioned that some of the enemies we'd encounter would be a werewolf of some sort, some vampiric monsters, and a witch that would hunt and stalk us around during our gameplay, which was also showcased in the reveal trailer as well. Though last but not least, the story and his characters were also confirmed with his initial rumors, with the franchise veteran protagonist Chris Redfield now coming back as one of the lead roles. And also Resident Evil 7's main protagonist Ethan Winters making a comeback as well.
Why?
And like I mentioned earlier, the overall setting puts us in a very isolated village somewhere in Eastern Europe, with the events leading up to this game happening some years after Resident Evil 7. Again, now having Ethan traverse through the rural environments, with the developers emphasizing a very occult-like theme, taking in more cues and more of a goth-like supernatural setting, which is very reminiscent of the early development of RE4 and how that game played around with the notion of hallucinations and supernatural-like beings, which I can see that this game took a lot of ideas from RE4 and its early development, and its end product of having a village and a castle as a main setting as well. So with all that out of the way, let's quickly cover what we've learned so far from both trailers, and why this could be one of the most ambitious Resident Evil games to date. Which this trailer starts off with this text, which a lot of fans have speculated that this is the end of the Chris Redfield storyline, but unlike his previous role as a main protagonist, this time around, he seems to take more of a villain's role, which we'll cover more by the end of this video.
Sorry, Ethan.
Anyways, the trailer continues on with Mia, Ethan Winters' crazy wife, reading a creepy bedtime story to their new baby.
Quit being so paranoid.
I mean, talk about having her as your wife. First, being a key member of the mysterious organization called the Connections that would help create the mold strain that we saw from RE7. Then turning into a lunatic wielding chainsaw lady. And now being this ominous weird character who reads creepy stories in front of her most likely traumatized husband and innocent baby. But I digress, because by the end of the trailer, her role in this would coincide with Chris Redfield's. Anyways, as the trailer continues on, we get to see some clips of the amazing new setting, especially with the upgraded RE engine at full display on the next gen console, which is something that I truly appreciate with this reveal trailer, because remember several years ago with the RE7's trailer, and how the Baker family residence gave us a hot, humid, and very swampy environment, which we can already contrast with the early part of the trailer, where the village would be situated in a cold, dark, and very icy setting, which is a complete opposite from what we got from RE7. Anyways, the best part of the trailer would now be showcased with the monsters, different characters, and the very gothic environmental setting. So going back to industry informant Dusk Golem, we get to see how his information of werewolf-like creatures, vampires, and a witch is confirmed, which makes me wonder on how gameplay-wise we'll be facing such adversaries. Because with these clips alone, we can already tell that these werewolf creatures are moving really fast, and going back to the first person point of view like we had in RE7 could make it a bit harder for us to deal with them, especially with that kind of speed. But I'll get more into the whole gameplay aspect after we cover the rest of the monsters and characters. Anyways, going back to the other enemies of the game, here we can see both the witch and the so-called vampires that we'll encounter, which the overall aesthetics of these enemies looks absolutely amazing, with the werewolf creatures having having that animalistic and rough look to them, and when we stop at a certain point of the trailer, we can actually see them working together in packs. Then with the witch wearing her dark robe, and if we look closer, we see some type of antlers or branches on her back, which could be something that she uses to perform some of her rituals of sorts. Then we get our glimpses of the vampire ladies, which I assume they'll be encountered within the large castle that overlooks a whole village, with their overall look is very old age Victorian, playing with the theme of this game's old and rustic location. Also, what I like about this whole vampiric enemy is what appears to be the ability to summon bug-like swarms, which brings us back to Marguerite Baker from RE7.
This is what you get!
No! I'll be good! I'll be good!
But towards the end of the trailer, we get to see glimpses from the other main characters of the game, with a clips showing a lady by the name of Emily, who is said to be a playable character at some point in the game, a man who reminds me of Arden Izunya from Final Fantasy 15, which some have speculated of him to play the role like the merchant from RE4.
Got something that might interest you.
Because the trailer did suggest that we will be using currency while showing the inventory system, which the developers had said that if we were used to the inventory system of both RE2 and 3 Remake, then we should feel at home with this game's version of it. And since we're talking about the items and currency, if we look at the top right corner, we get to see that they're using lei as a currency, and with a quick Google search, it actually tells us that the country Romania is the one that uses said currency, confirming the Eastern European setting of this game. Anyways, last but not least, by the end of the trailer, we finally get to see a much more serious and darker tone to Chris Redfield, acting in a villain's role this time around, especially with the way he treats Mia right in front of Ethan, which at this moment has garnered a lot of theories as to why he suddenly changed sides, with some speculating that him joining Blue Umbrella from RE7 has corrupted him in some capacity, or maybe the toll of fighting against BOWs for so long has finally made him snapped, and decided to take things into his own hands, whether it be morally right to do so. But in my opinion, I think this new darker rendition of Chris Redfield looks amazing, giving him a very serious tone to his character, but I do suspect at one point he will be a good guy, and him acting this way is just a front, similar to how we saw Dante from Devil May Cry 4's trailer years ago, and how he was portrayed as a villain at the start of the game when he attacked the Order of the Sword, which plays a similar role to what we have here, with Ethan playing as a new hero lead like Nero, and Chris Redfield playing the role like Dante as a villain of sorts at the beginning of the game, but having the possibility of his actions being justified, with Dante attacking the Order due to them being corrupt and using demons to achieve their plan, while Chris Redfield at the moment can only be speculated, though I can see that he's found a new revelation of a virus that Mia may have been involved in, and taking matters into his own hands by eliminating Mia before it gets worse. Anyways, earlier in the video, we touched on the gameplay aspect and how it returns back to the first person point of view like we had in RE7, abandoning the over the shoulder gameplay like we had in the previous remakes, which this decision had me thinking, what if the new sequels to Resident Evil will now play in this style, and the remakes would go back to the over the shoulder aspect, which the design decision for this could be more of the action oriented gameplay from RE2 and 3 Remake, especially when going up against the likes of Mr. X and Nemesis. But this first person point of view gameplay does lend itself to be more of a survival horror type of theme, because after going through RE7, I definitely enjoy the great up in your face type of scares, the immersion you get when you're in first person, as we explore all the new and beautiful settings, which Resident Evil Village definitely does have, and this would be the perfect opportunity for the devs to really showcase the next level of the RE engine, which in combination with the new console would for sure help immerse us into this new and cold setting, giving us an environment we have yet to see in the series, because just look how amazing all these settings look, from the small and minute details from this demonic doorway, to the aesthetic of the rundown village covered in ice, and the beautiful interior of the castle, which reminds me a lot of the Spencer Mansion in Resident Evil 1, again giving us a small callback to the earlier games of the series. Anyways, in the end, this new revealed trailers of Resident Evil Village or Resident Evil 8 has been amazing, and I am so glad we are getting this great news just a couple of months after the release release of Resident Evil 3 Remake. Anyways, before we do end this video, the developers did show off this clip right here, telling us that this symbol has a very big part in the game, and so far from my interpretation, it definitely looks like a fetus of sorts, but it looks like a hand at the tail end of it, and the wings and crest-like circle around it does lend itself in a similar pattern wise as the Umbrella Corporation. Anyways, there are so many theories to go over with this game, and the new reveal trailer is scheduled to be released sometime around August. Anyways, what did you guys think about the symbol and what can you guys make out of it? Please let me know in the comment section down below. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and this is Hey DeVuH, and I'll see you guys on the next video.